to talk about tonight. So let's go to the live press conference itself. Here's a recorded version of what our Premier had to say. I hope you enjoy.
Some time ago, I made a commitment to you, the residents of Newfoundland and Labrador, that you will not bear the burden of the higher electricity rates or taxes as a result of Muskrat Falls. Today, I am delivering on that commitment. Thank you, Minister Cody, and good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for coming out to this important announcement. And thank you to Minister O'Regan for joining us here today. I know, Seamus, this is a priority for you. After all, it's the people of this province that we are all working for. I have been adamant that Newfoundlanders and Labradorians cannot afford to pay the significantly higher electricity rates that would have resulted from the poorly conceived Muskrat Falls project. A project that is not our legacy, but it's one that we inherited. One that I fought against in opposition, and one that I've been cleaning up since becoming Premier. We all know that the PCs designed Muskrat Falls. We know that they announced Muskrat Falls, they launched Muskrat Falls, and they sanctioned Muskrat Falls. And under this structure, electricity rates would nearly double. Rates that are 13 cents today would skyrocket to 23 cents next year, and eventually up to 78 cents. And it wasn't just one Premier. It wasn't just one PC government. It was successive governments. At one point, they went as far as to kick out the Public Utilities Board. And the current PCs are no better than their predecessors. They take no responsibility for the government's actions. The current leader would like us to forget the past. What he's asked for is a bailout instead of a solution. He says he expects a $200 million check. Well, I would say to Mr. Crosby, this is a $30 billion problem. Mr. Crosby likes to throw around a lot of political jargon, but talk is cheap, and my government has chosen to focus on finding solutions. We have focused on what matters most. No government since Confederation has faced a tougher challenge. We have already heard tough language from the project's CEO. The Public Utilities Board, in its most recent report, said the anticipated rate increases are unprecedented. How is it that a province that is an energy powerhouse could become a province where people are scared to turn the lights on? This is what we've been cleaning up since forming government. I've said it before, and I can't help but repeat it here again today. Just imagine what we could have done with the money that's been already spent on this project. Billions of dollars to date. Imagine the programs and the services where we could use that. So what is the solution? Well, first and foremost, it starts with a partner, the federal government. And I'm pleased to be here today alongside Minister O'Regan to announce a significant milestone in the negotiations of the restructuring of the financing of the Lower Churchill projects to help ensure that they are financially sustainable for the long term. And thanks to our partnership with the federal government, we now have a sustainable long-term solution. A solution to protect ratepayers from the negative impacts of the Muskrat Falls project today and into the future. From the beginning, our government has worked long, hard, and diligently to get Muskrat Falls back on track. Appointing Stan Marshall as an experienced CEO in the utilities industry to lead Nalcor was one such step. Expanding the board of directors of Nalcor adding independence to the Oversight Committee, securing an additional federal loan guarantee, restoring the public utilities role in giving oversight to the Muskrat Falls project, improving project management, establishing a commission of inquiry to determine how this project was sanctioned. And we're delivering a rate management plan. That brings us to today's announcement. In April of 2019, our government and our federal partners committed to working together to identify ways that the province can achieve rate mitigation. We established a working group with senior officials from across government, and the team of legal advisors, financial advisors, electricity experts to develop a range of strategic financial considerations. And since that time, we've had discussions to determine the measures to protect residents from rising electricity rates resulting from the Muskrat Falls project. We had to solve the problem, not for the short term, but for the long term. To mitigate the impact of Muskrat Falls, it comes down to a $30 billion over the life of the agreement. And we're going to deal with that in three ways. First, the solution involves transitioning the Muskrat Falls Labrador transmission assets revenue model to a traditional cost of service model. This will ensure that the equity returns from Nalcor are redirected to benefit ratepayers. Essentially, you won't pay this on your monthly light bills. This will be off your monthly light bills. The cost of service model reflects the approach that's used by regulated utilities throughout North America. Secondly, with the Government of Canada's cooperation, monetizing suitable assets such as our dividends from the Labrador Island Link is also required to ensure a sustainable long-term solution. Now, let me be clear. This is not about selling on assets. It's about using those assets to the benefit of ratepayers. Thirdly, to reduce cash requirements related to servicing the project's debt, the Government of Canada is allowing a deferral of the sinking fund, and that's worth approximately $150 million. And if required, a deferral on the cost overrun escrow payments. The agreement with both levels of government will be implemented by project commissioning. The PUB highlighted that in the report last week. Lastly, the demand for electricity is important. So we are pleased that the Government of Canada is also prepared to work with the provincial government to consider opportunities for further electrification and decarbonization. Work is already underway to convert public buildings in the province from oil to electricity. In addition to discussions with the federal government, work is continuing on the provincial government's rate mitigation plan. This last Friday, the Public Utilities Board provided us with the final report on rate mitigation options. I sincerely thank them for their work. This report will also be used to inform our next steps. This is a very complex financial solution. We've done the deep analysis to completely mitigate this $30 billion funding gap. To reiterate, your rates will not go up as a result of Muskrat Falls. At this time, I would like to thank the Prime Minister, the Deputy Prime Minister, Minister Friedland, Minister Bill Morneau, for their continued partnership on working towards a solution. And I also want to thank Minister Horagan and our MPs, as he can here today, for your commitment on this file. There's been no stronger ally than our federal colleagues and our efforts to protect ratepayers in this province. We will continue to work together with our federal partners on easing the pressure on ratepayers. Now, when speaking to the media last week, I talked about the importance of putting a great team in place. And I am fortunate to work with an experienced established team. The results of their professionalism and their determination is present in this significant milestone here today. I'd also want to thank Minister Cody and Minister Osborne, our complete cabinet, and our caucus, and the many public sector employees who have worked tirelessly over the past weeks and months to get us to this point. Your work behind the scenes is invaluable. I'm beyond proud of our team, our government. As I can say, we are in a far better place today thanks to this comprehensive plan, a plan that is delivering positive results. We're making choices. We're finding solutions. We're helping communities across the province, helping families, helping seniors. And I am proud to be delivering on our commitment to you. Today is yet another step towards building upon a shared vision for our province. That is an ideal place to live, to work, and to raise your family. Together, ladies and gentlemen, we will continue to move Newfoundland and Labrador forward. Thank you very much.
First off, I want to thank the Prime Minister for his personal interest in this and his clear understanding of its importance to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. I want to thank the Deputy Prime Minister, who obviously needed another challenge after NAFTA, but certainly came on to rate mitigation, came on to this issue for the people of Newfoundland and Labrador with all the verve and intellect that you would expect from her. I want to thank Bill Morneau for his expertise and his financial acumen and his leadership. And I want to thank the good people of the department that I just inherited in November, the Department of Natural Resources, but filled with officials who have been working on this for some time and with a real passion and commitment and an understanding of its importance to this province. But I look at the members of Parliament, I look at MHAs who are present and ministers. I want to single out the Premier. I just wanted to say thank you, Dwight. Just like the Atlantic Accord, common courtesy, a keen ear, and mutual respect. His knowledge of this file and his commitment to it is unheralded. And just like I said to you last year, Dwight, for you and your team, the kettle is always on. Because when we stay focused on common objectives, our governments are capable of getting the hard stuff done. You can see that in the renewed Atlantic Accord, which is an additional $2 billion over the next 10 years to the people of the province. We knew then, and we know now, that we have to keep working together to secure the prosperity of this province. We knew that there was enough uncertainty, that too many politicians had played fast and loose with the public purse. We had to deliver. We had to deliver certainty, clarity, and predictability to the people of Newfoundland and Labrador. And it was especially nice on that day to renew the Atlantic Accord on the 70th anniversary of Confederation, because that is how Confederation is meant to work. It's important for people to know that the federal government recognizes the scale of the problem and the impact that it could have on the people of this province. We know it because your MPs and your MHAs represent the same people. They're our families, our friends, our neighbors, and they remind us about this all the time. We're ratepayers too. And we are keenly aware of what is coming down the wire. We've all thought hard about mini splits and wood stoves. So make no mistake, we are committed to meeting those challenges head on. We said that we would be there to help, and we will be. Today, I am happy to announce that the Government of Canada and the Government of Newfoundland and Labrador have launched negotiations to restructure the financing of the Muskrat Falls project. These negotiations will look at various options that are in the joint interests of both governments, and what is in the joint interests of both governments is a long-term, permanent solution. In the shorter term, we also acknowledge that Newfoundland and Labrador is seeking measures to reduce its cash requirements related to servicing the Muskrat Falls project's debt. So, the federal government will offer short-term flexibilities that would reduce the government of Newfoundland and Labrador's near-term cash requirements, including deferring payments into the sinking fund and waiving Korea pre-funding requirements. Look, in politics, you're drawn to the quick fix. But let's be honest, we all know there is no quick fix for Muskrat Falls. There's no magic bullet. There's no single piece of policy that can make it all go away, that can resolve such a large and complicated mess. Today's measures will help the province bear the weight of Muskrat Falls in the short term, and we are committed to be there to help sort this out in the years to come. We will now work on the financial sustainability of the project, because sustainability of the project is what will allow the province to achieve rate stability. And that is what we all want here. Rate stability. We are committed to it. We are together in this for the long haul. Thank you. Thank you very much.
You're watching Rogers TV, St. John's.
Come home to Hope Valley and see all the faces you love again.
Oh! Scandals. There he is.
Here we all are.
When Calls the Heart Season 7 premieres February 23rd. And watch all your favorite heartwarming episodes of Seasons 1 to 6 only on Super Channel On Demand.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. If nothing else, that was interesting. It's nice to see our leadership making moves and aligning with our federal government. That collaboration is very, very important in any kind of political situation, quite obviously. My very own humble personal opinion is that maybe the first 5 to 10 minutes of the conference didn't have to be repeatedly saying, well, it's not my fault. but I understand that everybody wants to get reelected, and if someone goes up, that means somebody goes down, and it's maybe just a part of the process. Not my personal style. However, there are more important people, potentially, that had something to say after the press release. So a scrum gathered, and a lot of local political figures had some things to say. And some of it is pretty interesting. Here it is.
Well, you know, we're told by the Public Utilities Board, and that's a source I think we can all trust, that we're short $400 million a year to make up the promise that Mr. Ball gave us to hold rates down. Where is the $400 million coming from? He's asked the federal government for $200, effectively, million a year. I'm not hearing how that's going to materialize, nor did I hear them address where the other $200 million that the province is going to have to find, where that's coming from. So these remain mysteries that have to be resolved, I'm afraid. We're no further ahead that I can tell, or very little further ahead than we were yesterday. This whole exercise, I'm afraid, is a propaganda exercise designed to distract the public from Mr. Ball's troubles over patronage and Carla Foote. That's what this is.
I would have liked a little bit more quantification. I would have loved to have heard that the federal government was willing to provide the $200 million that the Premier had suggested they would back before the last election. That would have been really reassuring. And at this point, no one has quoted what the rate will be. They've said the rates won't go up, but we got no guarantee that it's only going to 13.5 and for how long it will go there. So those are concerns. There was a little bit of question. The Premier was talking about long-term rates when we heard the Minister O'Regan talking about short-term solutions. So those two things don't seem to go hand in hand. Another thing I was concerned about was the monetization of assets. They said we won't be giving up on those assets, but I'm really curious to find out how that monetization will happen. And I think the other question that I had that was a little bit lingering as well is they're talked about a move to decarbonization. So will that have any impact on our Advance 2030? If we are decarbonizing locally, are we also going to take a more prudent world approach and look at less investment in offshore oil in our province as well? So that's an outstanding question for me.
I think that it's a step, and it's a step that puts off some short-term cash flow, $150 million, but that's really the only figure that we heard today that has any meaning. The rest of it is an agreement to agree, an agreement to negotiate a different model. Now, they may need the federal government, the province to make that happen, for sure, but I don't think that that's the full solution. I mean, if we don't know what the end result of that negotiation is going to be. Obviously, we'd hope for the best, but I mean, we need a commitment to other things as well. And not that that's not a commitment, and I don't doubt the sincerity of what was being said today by Minister O'Regan in his, suggested that this is a commitment from the federal government. They will negotiate, they will discuss, but we're really talking about essentially a restructuring of debts. And what I see is the dividends that from Muskrat Falls that might have gone to the government and the taxpayer is now going to the mitigation pot as opposed to going back to the province. So, these are details to be worked out. But what I saw missing today was something more than just financial restructuring. What about ways of lowering the cost of electricity to people or cost of heating to people? What about energy retrofit that can lower 25 to 30 to 35% of people's cost of energy? That's something that the federal government has a program for, but can it not be tailored to be sure that it's going to work here in Newfoundland and Labrador, so people who can't afford the cost of electricity now have some mitigation of their costs, and as it goes up, and it will go up beyond 13.5 cents a kilowatt hour, you can be sure of that. There's no commitment to keep it at that forever, let's face it. The PUB talks about possibly the province letting off the HST on electricity. Well, maybe the federal government should consider that as part of an overall plan to use electricity instead of using fossil fuels, as part of a program to decarbonize the country and meet targets. When you see them dealing with Alberta, for example, they look at a package, several different things that they're talking about, some creative ideas. Well, let's start using that same approach in dealing with assisting Newfoundland and Labrador in its high cost of energy, which really shouldn't be when we're going out of our way to provide a system that works. Well, I don't know. I mean, we had Dwight Ball assured voters before the last provincial election that ratepayers are not going to pay, the taxpayers are not going to pay. Pretty hard to believe that, that's not something that's realistic. Doesn't sound realistic then, and it doesn't necessarily sound realistic now. You're going to pay one way or the other. But I think this effort today, I think, yes, it is designed to assure people that the panic has been on. People have been talking about that everywhere you go, what's going to happen when Muskrat Falls comes on stream, and that is certainly a worry. And by taking that $150 million out of the short-term package, that's going to ease the rate shock a little bit, and I think perhaps that restructuring of the debt is going to smooth it out as well. But I think we need more, and if you look at the PUB report, talking about the things that need to be done to make efficiencies, but in the longer term, we're going to have a system that is sustainable, and it's not going to be a burden fiscally on the province for all the companies. People are worried about rates. There's one thing for sure, and we got to keep them as low as we can. But we also got to make sure that we got things in place that are going to make it cheaper for people to heat their homes if the cost of energy is there, and if we're going to be forced into decarbonizing the society, which we have to do, then we've got to find ways of fitting into that now and doing it now, so that when the rates come, they won't be as high as they should be.
All right, girls.
Mom, you said it's played again.
Workplace injuries hurt the most at home.
Hey, did you know?
More than 4,500 Canadians are waiting for an organ transplant right now.
Right now. 4,500.
People are dying.
And you could save a life. 90% of Canadians say they're willing to donate their organs.
But only a few are registered.
So what are you waiting for? Get registered.
It's easy and it's free.
Leave a legacy. Be a hero.
Save a life.
Find out how to register today. Go to kidney.ca.
Welcome back to Out of the Fog. Obviously, a lot of information packed into this episode, and we're all going to have to take some time to digest it. Me personally, I don't know if this is an example of parents who are fostering their young person and financially helping them to grow to be successful on their own, or if we just paid off all of the debts of the 42-year-old man that lives in your basement. I'm not entirely sure what happened, but I can promise you one thing. We care about the community here at Rogers, and when the time comes and there's more information, we're going to keep sending it out to you. So stay tuned for updates, and we will see you next week.